Hello, we have got a full show today. Later on, we'll have some attack defend and a little hint for you. One will include Zinedine Zidane. Should be quite the chat regarding that. Mikey Sim breaks down the MLS preseason, gives us 3 reasons why we must watch the MLS preseason. Pele back in the news once again. And to start things off, Albert will deep dive on all things Chelsea. This is Room 442.
Thank you, James. Yes, the club's worst run in the league for 13 years. Not a single goal scored in 6 of their last 8 matches, and the lowest win rate of any full-time Chelsea manager this century. Despite Todd Boehly's investment of over $400 million, Chelsea are still 10 points short of the Champions League places, and pressure is mounting on Graham Potter. Last Sunday, Manchester City knocked Chelsea out of a cup competition for the 2nd time this season, just days after beating them in the league. Listen, there's no shame to losing to Pep Guardiola, especially this Man City side, but it was how they lost. In Sunday's 4-0 beatdown, Chelsea managed just a single shot on target during the entire match. That's just not good enough at this level. Potter has been accused of tinkering, with the Chelsea boss making more changes to his starting lineup than any other manager this season. But in his defense, that's largely been a symptom of the club's injury crisis. Almost a full starting 11 is currently unavailable. On top of all that, Chelsea's recruitment has been hit and miss to say the least. Aubameyang, brought in by former boss Thomas Tuchel, has flopped. The 33-year-old was subbed on and then off again in that defeat against City last weekend. Joao Felix now looks set to complete an expensive loan move to the club, but is he really the out-and-out goal scorer that Chelsea really need? Probably not. Behind the scenes, Todd Boehly has stepped down from his role as interim sporting director, and reports have surfaced in the media that there was more to Thomas Tuchel's sacking than meets the eye.
And there's a lot more behind the scenes with Tuchel that would make most people's eyes water as to the reasons why Todd Boehly made that decision. And it wasn't just a case of losing to Dynamo Zagreb. It was a case of a whole raft of other things. That's Todd Boehly's gift to tell people what that is. But it opened my eyes, and I'd have done exactly the same thing as Todd Boehly did, which is you can go, mate.
Despite being publicly backed by the board, Potter remains second favorite for next Prem casualty behind Frank Lampard. And with fans singing Tuchel's name at the weekend, is Potter really the right man to be given more time as Chelsea boss?
Sarah joins us now. Interesting piece, Albert. Todd Boehly, the owner, right, was also the interim sporting director until very recently. This is a guy that has some success in North American sports, not in soccer, never in soccer. I would assume he's taking advice for who to sign. At the same time, I mean, is that part of the issue here when the owner is negotiating deals with players when he has no background at all in the sport?
Yeah, I think so. You want somebody who's in the role who understands football. I think that's most importantly. But obviously you want someone who has the financial backing, and he does. So that's why he's in there. And I don't necessarily think it's just him making these signings, right? He's playing a primary role. But I also don't think that's the biggest issue with this club.
So what is the biggest issue with the club?
At the moment, I think it's the injuries.
Definitely.
Everybody wants to get Potter out of there as soon as possible. He needs time. You can't sack Thomas Tuchel, who I think, at the moment, one of the best managers in world football, who won a Champions League for this club. You can't sack him and expect the team to be at the same level or better, especially when you have Graham Potter, who's still learning his trade, really. This is his biggest club so far. You know, Brighton in the Premier League, obviously he did well with them, but before that, he wasn't coaching at these big clubs. And now here he is dealing with a team that has an injury list that's 11 players deep. No team in world football will be able to combat that.
Injuries are always a good excuse, right? But I think it's probably relevant in this case. It seems like a very unbalanced starting 11. So for Graham Potter, where do you stand, sir? Do you think you give this guy a couple of windows to build the team that he wants, and you just kind of dismiss the Tuchel era and say, we made a mistake there, show us what you have?
Yeah, I think you have to just kind of continue with the mistake maybe you might have made with Tuchel and stick with Potter. He's been there for less than half a season. As Albert mentioned, he was good with Brighton, and he needs some time to get to adjust to this team and these players. If they're going to keep sacking and bringing in new managers, they're going to have no consistency regardless of who it is. And I hate when football teams do this. Like, give the manager a chance.
That being said, though, Joao Felix arrives, which you would think has the Potter seal of approval. Really potentially a great player. Good World Cup. Hasn't worked out for him at Atletico Madrid. But is he what Chelsea need? Another scheming, creative player?
It's hard to say. We spoke about this yesterday, I know, but we know Joao's going there for playing time because he's not getting that at Atletico. So for him, as a personal move, it's great. Chelsea, on the other hand, it's hard to say because we haven't really figured out what their starting 11 is and where they need more help because it's constantly changing. I don't know. Do you agree?
I think this is a horrible signing. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you bring in Joao Felix? He's an unproven player. He feels like he's been in the game forever, but he's never really done anything. And people will say, well, that was the playing style of Atletico Madrid. Other players have thrived there in attacking roles. He didn't. He has the World Cup. He has a decent showing at the World Cup. I didn't think he was great. He was one of Portugal's better players, sure, but had a fantastic team around him. At the moment, Chelsea, not only do they need a number 9, they need reinforcements elsewhere due to the injuries. But going forward, Aubameyang isn't doing it. Kai Havertz isn't doing it. And I can't imagine that Joao Felix is going to come in and light up the Premier League. That's not happening.
No. If they also sign a number 9, whoever that's going to be, in this window to go alongside Joao Felix, does that make more sense to you?
I think so. I think you need a proven goal scorer in the Premier League, and it might be a player that's in the Premier League at the moment. It might not have to be a fancy signing. Wout Weghorst was just signed.
He got it in.
Right?
He got the mention in.
On loan to Manchester United. He's played in the Premier League.
Yep.
He's a proven goal scorer, and that's the type of player that Chelsea need. Maybe not exactly Wout Weghorst, but you need somebody.
Can you imagine if that was the big signing?
No,
If that was
I
exactly
It'd be a
but,
big signing. He's 6'6".
there's issues all around the pitch. I really think missing Reece James is huge.
Yeah.
To me, he's their best player, and Ben Chilwell on the other side. Other players are still trying to fit into the club. There's a lot going on that's out of Potter's control.
Yeah, but they're 10th in the table. It's quite incredible. Can they finish top 4? Must they finish top 4? This could be Graham Potter, his first time in charge of a big club, finishing outside the top 4. So for next season, that's a big window. They're trying to attract some big talent, promising potentially Europa League football. Dare I say it, Conference League football.
Oh, not the Conference League.
Right? But I mean, it's a big change for this club, and Potter is very much on the hot seat.
I think we still have to remember, though, that we're only reaching the second half of the Premier League starting this coming weekend. There is a lot of Premier League to be played. And Chelsea, they do have the players. Whether the players are going to perform, it's the question. But I think we are jumping the gun a bit here. I still think Chelsea can finish top 4.
You bring up a good point, actually. If they don't make it into the Champions League, which I don't think that they will, I think Potter will get the sack, because at that point, you probably need a manager with some pulling power to bring in some players in the summer if you don't have European football.
Convince them, yeah, perhaps. It's fascinating. It really is. Like I said, it's half the way through the season. It's not that far, but that's a big gap to try and close. Let's move on now. I'm not sure if you saw this or not. It's fantastic, but Pachuca in Mexico have a throne for Pele now in the stadium. So essentially what it is below the director's box where the FIFA brass usually sit. They now have a throne for the great departed Pele, which got me thinking, if you could pick any player to have a throne in any stadium, who would it be? All right, Sarah, let's begin with your choice.
I want to make it very clear that James told me I'm not allowed to say Leo Messi, which also
'Cause you
made me
would've done,
stay away 100%. But I also stayed away from Diego Maradona, all Argentines out of the picture, so I went Johan Cruyff, the great. He changed football. Not only was he, fantastic for Barcelona and Ajax and the Dutch as well.
It works great. He does suit the crown, doesn't he?
Yeah,
He
he
does on the hand.
looks a bit evil. Not the best looking man, but what a good football player. He really changed the style of football with his tiki-taka, especially at Barcelona. That one turn that he has is so, they're still teaching kids about the Cruyff turn.
Cruyff turn, which Pele did before. But anyway, still really impressive. But no, there's no arguments there. It's a great choice, Albert.
When you asked me this, the first person that popped in my head, Francesco Totti. One club player, which I love. I know you love that as well.
Yep.
Debut in 93, retired in 2016 with the same club. Basically scored a goal every other game. He won a Scudetto with them in the Serie A. He has a World Cup to his name. I think if there's a player that deserves a throne, especially in Italy, it's this man right here.
That is regal, man. He looks like a king.
Yes.
He does.
He's a
True
gladiator.
Romanista.
He is a gladiator.
Absolutely, he really is. All right, for me, I'm going a little bit in left field here.
I love it.
A little bit, but what Jamie Vardy did at Leicester City, they will always be Premier League champions. And also, He kind of looks like that evil king you find in like Game of Thrones.
Like the
movies.
son,
Yeah.
though.
The son, right?
Yeah, you hate him.
like he does terrible things to people. He looks he'd be a great king, Jimmy Vardy. You wouldn't mess with him, would you? So yeah, Vardy, let's people may laugh at that, but I mean, what he did at Leicester,
Yeah.
it was incredible.
Yeah, he was incredible that season. Not just winning the Premier League, he went on a crazy run of goals as well. I think he broke the record for most goals, right?
Yeah. I could have put Riyad Mahrez there, in fact.
Yeah.
But
Conte.
Riyad Mahrez just looks too nice.
Yeah.
Like, I want a nasty, evil king.
What about Ranieri? Because
He'd be very regal, wouldn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
He'd
it's
love
not
that.
bad. It's not
Him
bad
and
choice.
Bocelli.
I'd give them all a throw in it.
Yeah,
at
we're just
Leicester,
giving
for sure.
everyone.
Yeah. Oh, well, this is a bit of fun. Why
Yeah.
not? All right, listen, when we come back, we're going to move on to Major League Soccer. Mikey Singh will drop by and tell us 3 reasons why you must watch the MLS preseason. These guys have to listen to this very closely. Don't go anywhere. It's room 442.
I love MLS.
MLS kicks off on February 25th. The preseason begins in earnest this week as Michael Singh joins us in room 442. All right, it's a very long preseason, Mikey. It just seems longer perhaps in MLS because this European League's already going ahead. But regardless, it's 6 weeks or so. Give us 3 reasons why we need to watch MLS preseason.
Well, the first reason I can think of is transfers, right? This is sort of the time of the year where last season we heard about guys like Lorenzo Insigne coming over, Hector Herrera, Xherdan Shaqiri, some really big, prominent names that really caught the attention of not just North America here, but the world. So I'm wondering this time around, as the league has signed a new deal with Apple, who's going to be the next sort of Gareth Bale or Lorenzo Insigne to join Major League Soccer? It's really an interesting time for this league, and I'm wondering who that next step is from MLS. I'm not sure if you guys have any names off the top of your head, but some of the people who've been rumored is guys like Sergio Busquets. Luis Suarez was before he agreed to his new deal. Lionel Messi was, but it sounds like he is going to stay once again in Paris.
The guy in Al Nassr right now as well, Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these names being wiped off the board. Do you think MLS is upset about this?
Absolutely. They're losing money. You get somebody like anyone that Mikey just mentioned, of course, Ronaldo and Messi, but so someone like Sergio Busquets coming through, that's obviously going to bring in a ton of money. He's a fantastic player playing for Barcelona. So I would say they're upset.
Oh, okay, let me ask you about Busquets, because listen, legendary, great player, but is he going to put bums in seats? He's not that kind of player.
Yeah.
Steven Gerrard didn't.
Yeah, if you're marketing it the right way, he could, but you're right. You have to appreciate the beautiful game as a whole to really appreciate who Sergio Busquets is. He's not a prolific goal scorer, and a lot of fans in North America are attracted to goals, so I see that. But a guy like Olivier Giroud, he might be an exciting signing for a team that's out there. Karim Benzema is a free agent.
Yeah, that's a
Sergio
good one.
Ramos, again,
Sergio
a
Ramos
center
is,
back.
I think the most likely out of the 3.
Right?
just
There's-
I think
about
so.
it.
I think Giroud would be a great move for him, though.
Yeah.
He could be finally the man at
Yeah.
a club, as opposed to
That's fair.
the bit part player who's really, really good. Yeah, that'd be a good
And
one.
LAFC have an open DP spot.
They do.
And we know they like to take big swings. So
Hey, what about Dani Alves, your favorite player down in Mexico?
yeah, 44-year-old Dani Alves.
He also has some issues off the field right now as well. There's Dani Alves, which we shouldn't get into right now, I think. Mikey, number 2, give me another reason why.
So the second reason, I'm keeping a close eye on my favorite team out there, CF Montreal. Listen, this team has lost
Everyone?
a number of players, close to everyone. Obviously, Ismail Kone with what he's doing now with Watford, Alistair Johnson, Celtic, Georgi Mihalovic, who is arguably their most important player, and then Wilfred Nancy, their coach. So this is a full turnover now with this roster, and they haven't really made any prolific additions. We'll see what happens the rest of this preseason. Right now, I'm not sure they're set up to reach the heights that they reached last
Well,
season.
they're a good team.
They're a good
But
team.
not a great team. A good team.
Not a great
So if
team.
they're not good, what could they be this time around? We'll save that for another segment, shall we? Nearer the kickoff. All right, give us our third reason why we need to watch the MLS preseason.
Of course, we're a Toronto-based show, and I could not do this without talking about Toronto FC. Bob Bradley speaking on Friday at the start of preseason, he made some pretty catching comments. And he said that he believes that Toronto FC are going to be a good team this year with the foundation they've built, with the discussions that they're having with some potential free agents, with the acquisitions they've already made, like a Matt Hedges, a Victor Vasquez, re-signing Osorio, potentially Sean Johnson here. He believes that they're going to be able to compete with the best teams this year, which is, again, pretty exciting if you're a Toronto FC fan, but we've yet to see them make that jump. So do you guys think that this could be the year Toronto FC makes that jump?
They have to have a goalkeeper. I think that's really important in soccer. You have a goalkeeper.
So.
Yeah. And listen, if it is Sean Johnson, and he was actually at the Raptors game this past weekend, they're whining and dining him. There's no doubt about that. I think they can be a good team. Absolutely. Listen, when they made the big deals last summer and they brought the Italians in, they looked really good at times. Now, it fell apart down this stretch run, I know that. But at that point, the hole had been dug. I think you look man for man, there aren't many better teams in MLS. They're not the finished product just yet. Bob Bradley's proven, so yes, I think it can be a very good team. And in MLS, there's so much parity, right? I know we saw the Union looking great this past year, regular season. We saw LAFC just bossing it as well. You have that echelon. I'm not sure if TFC's quite there, but certainly in the conversation.
I disagree. I think I've said this to you before, but they haven't given me a reason yet to trust that they're going to be a good team. Bob Bradley said the same thing last season, and then they signed all these players and they did not play well, and the team fell apart. Yeah, there's still time for signings, like you mentioned, some free agents. Okay, good, but I think you're right with the goalkeeper situation. But even if you go man for man, that's not how football is played. Football is a team sport. They need to be able to play together. And they haven't shown me that yet. So prove me wrong, maybe. But right now, I don't think so.
But you're right. I mean, MLS preseason is fascinating, right? For that reason, there's so many holes to fill in all these teams right now. So it's just beginning, and we'll be covering it in some depth. All right, when we come back, it's to Attack Defend. Mikey's off the couch. Thanks, pal. Great job. You're back in tomorrow. Albert rejoins us here for some Attack Defend. Let's get me and Sarah going. Dead here.
Welcome back to Room 442. I'm not James Sharman. He's James Sharman. He's on the couch. Sarah Pariah, Albert Vartanian. It's time for one of our many game shows, Attack Defend. Not the best game show, by the way. That goes to...
But it's
Hey, it's always good when you don't have to say it, right?
Red card, yellow card's pretty good.
No, it's garbage. Sorry, Mikey. Okay, Attack Defend. We got 3 topics. I'm not sure if we're going to hit all 3. We're going to try. Let's start. Ronaldo, his first game in Saudi Arabia, is set to be against PSG. Ronaldo against Messi. January 19th is the set date. It might happen. It's not for sure in terms of Ronaldo and Messi playing, but it's likely. So here's a statement. Al Nassr versus PSG will be must-watch. Attack.
So I'm disagreeing. Sorry.
Yes, that's how Attack Defend
yes,
works.
thank you very much. It's been a while. No, it's not must watch because the game does not matter regardless of who plays. It's not for anything. It's not for bragging rights at this point because we all know how that argument ends. And we don't even know if Messi and Ronaldo are going to play. And I think that's the biggest selling point, right? If the two play, you want to see them play against one another. But if we don't know if they're going to play, what's the point? It's just one of those games it's worth nothing. And I know
we know they're going to play because there's no way the organizers of this match would allow this match to go ahead without them
20 minutes
playing.
of maybe Messi?
It doesn't matter, Sarah.
Oh, it
this is a really important match.
So you'll be tuning in.
For 15 years. It's must watch, of course.
You'll be tuning in for this.
15 years they've been going head-to-head, these two. This might be the final time we ever see Messi against Ronaldo. That brings a tear to my eye. 2 of my favorite players of all time. You know, the last goodbye, the long goodbye, shall we call it? If you're a football fan, you're watching this game.
So,
if you're not going to watch this game, then you're not a football fan.
But
You
how
should
do
be
you
watching
know
the show.
how do you know they're going to play?
Because there's no way they organize this matchup. It's all about Messi against Ronaldo.
I will say this. This is likely to be Cristiano Ronaldo's debut for them. He's going to play.
He's going
This
to
must
play.
be in the
I'm more
contract
thinking
somewhere.
about.
And if there was ever a match to settle the GOAT debate, it's a friendly in Riyadh
this is
between
the one,
Al
right?
Nassr
Yes.
and PSG.
This is
James,
it.
1-0.
All right.
To the next one. We had a great debate off air about this. Zinedine Zidane, he's in the news at the moment for turning down a job as manager for the U.S. men's national team. Understandably so. He's waiting for a bigger job. No disrespect, I'm just saying. So that makes me think, where does Zidane rank in terms of great managers, right? So here's the statement. Zidane is one of the best managers ever. Defend that.
Yeah, I think he is, and I think simply because of what he did at Real Madrid, obviously. He was at the Castilla Real for a year, and as you mentioned, he didn't do well, but then he went to coach Real Madrid and won everything with them. He won 3 back-to-back Champions Leagues. He won La Liga. Out of 236 games he coached Real Madrid, he only lost 36 of those games. So I think the thing is, a lot of people don't look at Zidane at Madrid as one of the greatest because it was a short stint, relatively 6 years. He hasn't coached anywhere else. But what he did at Real Madrid was better than a lot of coaches who have coached other teams, several other teams. His ratio is just better. It's the stats. And he also brought in players like Casemiro, who was amazing for them, Eder Militao, Ferland Mendy. He changed this team so much in a really good way as well.
Listen, he won 3 back-to-back, despite the little gap in between, right, when he quit the first time, because going got tough. And then he quit the second time, right, when the going got tough as well, when he fell out with the ownership, right? He's a bit of a quitter, as old Zidane. Listen, he might well be one day perceived as being one of the greatest of all time. He must do it for longer and at different clubs, and must also strip down and rebuild clubs. That's what great managers do, right? He's walked into Galactico football both times. Wonderful teams. Oh, he's got Ronaldo. Tough gig, Zidane. How are you going to score your goals, right? So listen, he did a really great job there. I'm not denying that. I love Zizou. He's one of my favourites of all time. But to say he's one of the greatest managers of all time, way too soon. Let's see him do it in a cold night at Stoke.
That's what everyone needs to do, right? Everyone's got to do that a cold night in Stoke. I just want to go over some of what he did there. 2 short stints, as you mentioned, but 2 La Liga, 2 Super Copa, 3 Champions League, 2 Super Cup, 2 Club World Cup, best winning streak ever in La Liga history, James. This is
and the Barcelona down year.
Barcelona down year, correct. But
who else?
still,
But Champions League, but like, even if you
Yeah,
want
it's
to
really impressive.
it is
But
really
it's Real
impressive.
Madrid.
Yeah, but
the highest
you couldn't
payroll in
do
world
it.
football.
The big-
at
But
the
you
time.
couldn't do it.
I couldn't, but I could do a job at Stoke.
hold on. The big argument with Zidane, which I keep hearing, is that he had it handed to him on a silver platter.
I think that's so silly to say about anything. in
But it's still
football,
what you
though.
do with
He
the
still can
players that
manage,
you have.
right? And he managed big egos
That's
brilliantly.
That's the thing. You have Benzema, you have Ronaldo, you had, Xabi Alonso was there,
Gareth Bale.
Toni Kroos.
Right,
Yeah.
precisely. Big egos, right? Great players. Did
And
a
he
great
managed
job.
those egos.
But the best of all time. Let's calm down a little bit.
No,
One
no,
game
no,
on
no,
10
no,
years.
that's not the
One
argument.
One of the best. Oh,
mister.
sorry, one of the best
Okay,
of all
but I
time.
think
You
you-
said off camera he's better than Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yeah, no, I was just-
I've never been more appalled with someone that I work with in my
I've
entire
never seen
career.
a
It's
Liverpool
getting mucho
fan.
caliente in here. I'm going to have to give this one to Sarah.
Of course you are, 'cause
1-1.
you're so biased.
All right, so the final one, and this one is very important. Room 442
Okay.
is better with Sarah Pararia in studio.
Oh, okay.
Attack that shit.
Attack it.
Why? You shouldn't
Oh,
be doing
jeez. How do
No,
I
'cause
attack
you got to
that?
make the case for yourself.
How do I attack that? Okay, you know what?
Careful now.
4-4-2 without Sarah was great because it made the 3 of us, yourself, Mike and I, try harder and work harder because we couldn't rely on Sarah's brilliance beside us, right? So we had to focus more
Yeah.
on our content, and therefore it was much better without her.
Sarah, defend yourself.
I bring that, South American knowledge to the group, trying to bring a different perspective than all these EPL focused
Yeah.
men. And also I'm a female.
Right there is probably the right
That's
answer.
what,
Yeah,
I should have said room 442 is better with Albert Vartanian,
should have done, but
right?
And then
I'm
we
so
could
glad
we
you
both
guys-
how
attack.
can you defend
I'm
that?
so glad you guys on this couch. I suck at this game. I'm not a good debater.
No, that was good.
I don't do my
Generally,
debating in
you're pretty
public.
good.
Sorry?
Yeah. You're bang average.
Yeah, I'm bang average. Yeah. As a debater,
Yeah.
I totally
Like
agree.
James Milner.
you're no master
bang
debater.
average.
No, I'm not a master debater. I mean, I do my debating in private when no one's around. All right, time to wrap up the show. James Sharman, Sarah Pararia. Make sure you tune back mañana. More Room 442.